In a high-profile wedding held in Ankara, the heart of Turkey's capital, a shadowy collection of underworld figures gathered, making the event feel more like a criminal summit than a celebration. At the center of attention was Necati Arabacı, a man instantly recognizable for his heavily tattooed arms, long flowing hair, and his infamous association with the Hells Angels motorcycle gang. Arabacı, standing out in his casual sportswear amidst a sea of suits, presented a gold cord, a traditional gift to Ayhan Bor Kaplan's son during the circumcision ceremony. The event itself was extravagant, with a star-studded performance by famous Turkish singer Sibel Can. Yet the true significance lay in the guest list, which read like a roll call of Turkey's most notorious crime figures. Among those present was the nephew of Alaaddin Çakıcı, one of Turkey's most feared crime bosses, who has been tied to everything from organized crime to political intrigue and murder. The gathering underscored the enduring power of these underworld families in Turkey's three largest cities, Istanbul, Ankara, and Izmir. In recent years, Necati Arabacı has come to symbolize the merger of international organized crime and Turkey's domestic mafia, especially in how he built and expanded his influence within these major urban centers. The rise of Hells Necati, from Germany to Turkey. Necati Arabacı's journey into the criminal world started far from Turkey, in Germany, where he was born on February 14, 1972, to Turkish immigrant parents. Growing up in Germany, he was exposed to a tough environment, and by his late teens, Arabacı had found a way into the Hells Angels motorcycle gang, one of the world's most notorious outlaw biker organizations. The Hells Angels, founded in 1948 in Fontana, California by World War II veterans, was known for its rugged lifestyle centered around Harley-Davidson motorcycles. But behind this image lay a darker reality. Over the decades, the Hells Angels became synonymous with organized crime, involved in everything from drug trafficking to arms smuggling, human trafficking, and violent crimes. By the early 1990s, Arabacı had fully integrated into the gang's culture, earning the nickname Hells Necati, and establishing himself as a rising star within the group's European network. His growing reputation in Germany eventually led him to form his own gang, composed mostly of Turkish immigrants, to control nightclubs and engage in illegal activities. However, his ambitions did not go unnoticed by the authorities. In 2002, German police launched a massive operation against his criminal network, arresting Arabacı and charging him with numerous crimes, including human trafficking, extortion, and forced prostitution. He was sentenced to 9 years in prison. While in prison, Arabacı's influence only grew. He continued to manage operations through his associates, and upon his release in 2007, he was deported back to Turkey. However, his stay in Turkey was not without controversy. Arabacı lived under special protection in the coastal town of Çeşme, Izmir, as there were reports of threats against him from rival gangs. Even the prosecutor investigating his case in Germany, Jürgen Boz Sam, was allegedly targeted in a hitman plot orchestrated by Arabacı's associates. Expanding power, the struggle for control in Europe. Arabacı's ambitions reached a turning point in 2013 when Frank Hanebuth, the powerful European leader of the Hells Angels, was arrested in Spain. Sensing an opportunity, Arabacı made a play for control of the gang's European operations, despite being banned from re-entering Germany. Using forged Bulgarian passports, he continued to travel between Turkey and Europe, managing his operations in the shadows. In 2014, he founded the Hells Angels Bodrum chapter, a group composed entirely of Turkish immigrants, which added a new layer of complexity to the ongoing power struggle within the Hells Angels. This period was marked by violent confrontations between rival factions. In one particularly brutal incident, members of Hells Angels Bodrum attacked the business of a rival gang leader, Walter B., in Frankfurt. The attack escalated into a shootout, leaving several people injured. Arabacı's chapter, backed by Hells Angels members from the US and Denmark, sought to dominate the lucrative criminal markets of drugs, prostitution, and arms trafficking across Europe. Arabacı's network was reportedly involved in a vast drug trafficking operation that spanned several countries. Collaborating with Hells Angels chapters in Denmark, his group smuggled narcotics into Europe and laundered the proceeds through a network of businesses in Germany and Turkey. By 2015, Spanish authorities had issued a European-wide arrest warrant for Arabacı, marking him as one of the continent's most wanted criminals. Despite this, he continued to evade capture, using forged identities and the support of his extensive criminal network. The Turkish underworld, from Izmir to Istanbul. By 2018, Arabacı's focus shifted more firmly to Turkey, where he had already established deep roots in the country's underworld. Turkish police launched a nationwide crackdown on organized crime groups, including the notorious Saralar and Bishak factions, which were allied with Arabacı's Hells Angels Bodrum chapter. In June 2018, police arrested Arabacı during a large-scale operation in Çeşme, along with several other high-profile crime figures. However, despite the seriousness of the charges against him, Arabacı was released just 3 months later, fueling speculation about his connections within the political and legal system. In July 2020, Arabacı once again found himself in the crosshairs of the law when he was accused of orchestrating the murder of Ahmet Atik, a bar owner in Bodrum, who was gunned down outside his home in 2019. Though detained and charged, Arabacı was released after just 10 days. His ability to escape lengthy imprisonment has led many to question how much influence he truly wields in Turkey. Later that same year, Arabacı was arrested yet again, this time during a routine vehicle inspection in Çeşme. He was briefly incarcerated at Buca prison, but was once again released after a short period. These repeated run-ins with the law only highlight the complex relationship Arabacı has with the Turkish authorities, which many suspect may be influenced by his deep connections within the country's political and business elites. Did you know? It was noted that Necati Arabacı had cut ties with the club in 2013 and did not hold any position like country president within the organization. Arabacı's relationship with the Hells Angels also shifted during this time. In 2013, reports began circulating that he had cut ties with the organization, and the Hells Angels Turkey chapter issued a rare public statement distancing themselves from him. They insisted that Arabacı was no longer a member and had no formal role within the gang. The statement went on to defend the Turkish Hells Angels as a legitimate organization focused on charitable activities and social responsibility, denying any involvement in criminal activities. Despite this, media reports suggested that Arabacı continued to wield significant influence over the Hells Angels, particularly through his connections in Germany. Investigations by Spanish authorities revealed that Arabacı had expanded a network of brothels and prostitution rings across Europe, using his father's old contacts to grow the operation. Furthermore, he was reportedly involved in laundering the proceeds from drug and arms trafficking through international banking systems, using shell companies to obscure the origins of the money. The present and future. Arabacı's lasting legacy. Necati Arabacı's life is a remarkable example of how international criminal networks operate across borders, blending cultures, and leveraging both local and global connections to expand their power. His journey from a young immigrant in Germany to one of Turkey's most powerful crime lords showcases the dark underbelly of organized crime, where bikers, brothels, drugs, and political ties intertwine. With his fingers in several illicit pies, ranging from drug trafficking and extortion to human trafficking and nightclubs, Arabacı represents a new breed of underworld boss. His story illustrates how a figure deeply involved in criminal activities can still maintain an air of legitimacy, holding influence over legitimate businesses and political figures. Today, Arabacı's name remains synonymous with organized crime in both Turkey and Europe. Despite numerous arrests and criminal investigations, he continues to operate in the shadows, avoiding long-term imprisonment and maintaining his criminal empire. His rise to prominence in Turkey's largest cities, Izmir, Istanbul, and Ankara, marks him as a powerful player in Turkey's modern-day mafia, while his ties to Europe demonstrate how Turkish gangs are now major players on the global stage. Necati Arabacı's story is far from over. His life has been a series of close calls, power struggles, and violent confrontations, and his future may hold more of the same. What remains certain is that Arabacı, like the Hells Angels with whom he once rode, will continue to cast a long shadow over Turkey and Europe for years to come. If you found this dive into Necati Arabacı's criminal empire interesting, be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below with your thoughts. Stay tuned for more deep dives into the world of organized crime.